football hero. Insult and apathy mar Khelo India. Royal treatment only for top cricketers. No country for non-cricketing athletes.
Viewer, I'm going to start by admitting that I'm very glad that video from Saharanpur in Uttar Pradesh has gone viral. There's a good chance that people would have missed that entire incident, but it has come to become not only the most viral video today, but also representative of how our non-cricketing sports persons at any level are treated in this country. Second-class citizens, but this was the depths of shamefulness, of disgustingness and criminality even. And we're going to tell you who's responsible in Uttar Pradesh for treating Kabaddi stars in that manner. I'm Shiv Aroor. This is 5 Live. These are the headlines. Karnataka government blames Popular Front of India for hijab showdown in the state during Supreme Court hearing, claims social media campaign by PFI to build agitation of people's religious sentiment. Suspense over who will be the next Congress president deepens. Shashi Tharoor throws his hat into the ring as India Today first reported. Non-Gandhi contest likely between Ashok Gehlot and Shashi Tharoor. But is it going to be a fixed match? DMK's A. Raja courts controversy with his casteist slur again. Makes derogatory comments against Brahmins and the Vedas. BJP raises demand to bar Raja from contesting any election. Bapu's bhajan makes her see saffron. PDP chief Mehbooba Mufti is against Gandhi's hymn Raghupati Raghav. In Kulgam schools, labels it BJP's Hindutva agenda. BJP says this is Mehbooba's alarmist hypocrisy. Arvind Kejriwal comes out in support of Punjab Chief Minister, calls allegations against Bhagwant Mann of being deplaned for being drunk in Germany as fake and false. Civil Aviation Minister, however, has ordered a probe. Images that have gone viral with millions of views across different platforms in every country of the world today, because there is a sense of disbelief. Here in India, we've come to be perhaps desensitized to how people are treated in various circumstances. But this video has touched a raw nerve. It is from Saharanpur in Uttar Pradesh, where a state-level Kabaddi team comprised of young women and young men were made to eat food after it was served inside a toilet just a few feet away from a urinal, a row of urinals, a row of lavatories. This is where they were served their food. They are still in their Kabaddi uniforms. They were there as part of a state-level tournament, and this is how they were treated. People have been expressing their disgust, but also wondering what sort of perverse circumstances could force the organizers of this tournament to serve these young Indians their food inside a toilet. Couldn't it have been done outside? What were the pressing circumstances or indifference or negligence or apathy or criminality or lack of shame or all of the above to make them treat Indian future sports stars in this absolutely disgusting manner? No amount of condemnation is enough. And I wish it was only a one-off thing. But sadly, as you and I both know, viewer, this is hardly a unique event. Non-cricketing sports persons in this country have been treated like filth, like second-class citizens, like non-priorities over and over again over the years. Just look at what happened a few days ago. This is Sunil Chhetri. Watch how, as he was accepting a trophy after a tournament, watch how the Bengal governor, La Ganesan, pushes him aside. I hope you saw this video as well, viewer, because that's another video. A football star of India accepting a trophy after his amazing work on the field. pushed aside by the Bengal governor because he wanted to be in the photograph. That man, that shameless man there, is the governor, acting governor of West Bengal, the Honorable La Ganesan, who found it fit to use his hands to push aside young Sunil Chhetri so he could be in the frame. You can explain it in whatever way you want, but is this the way to behave with India's sport persons? Pushed aside for a photograph, served food from a toilet. Is this what it has really come down to? I think most people have made peace with the fact that cricket is lucky, cricketers are lucky, they've got a body looking after their interests, and nobody should find fault with cricketers because they've earned it. They are stars in their own right. So this is not about denigrating cricket or cricketers. But why are those who are not cricketers in this country treated in this shabby manner? Watch this report.
They are India's budding Kabaddi talent, toiling to make it big at national level. But in return, what they got was shame, apathy and betrayal. India was horrified when young women national level Kabaddi players were served food cooked and piled up inside toilet. You heard that right. Puris fried near urinals. Rice cooked inside washroom. A deeply embarrassed UP government sacked top sports officials and ordered a probe.
लोगों ने जो शिकायत आई थी खेल अधिकारी को निलंबित कर दिया है और जांच के लिए आदेश दिया है.
Sports Minister Anurag Thakur directed state government to take strict action against the accused contractor and officers.
जो भी कॉन्ट्रैक्टर आरोपी होगा और जो भी अधिकारी इस पर है, मैंने पिछले कल ही उसके ऊपर कड़ी से कड़ी कार्रवाई करने के लिए कहा है और उस कॉन्ट्रैक्टर को भी भविष्य के लिए ब्लैकलिस्ट करने के लिए निर्देश दे दिए.
The opposition was quick to hit out at the Yogi government and called it incompetent.
बच्चों के लिए कोई इंतजाम नहीं है, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं है, रुकने रुकाने का, ठहरने का, खाना दिलाने का. बताओ आज के समय पर कौन टॉयलेट में खाना खाएगा? ये सरकार की इनकॉम्पिटेंट सरकार है.
अतिथि देवो भवो की परंपरा वाले उत्तर प्रदेश में खिलाड़ियों को टॉयलेट में खाना देना, ये योगी सरकार का कौन सा कुकृत्य है?
Sports administration in India is notorious for unequal treatment, bordering on harassment when it comes to non-cricketing sports persons. Recently, India saw national football captain Sunil Chhetri getting insulted during the presentation of the Durand Cup. He was shoved aside by the Bengal governor La Ganesan, who was more interested in a better photo op. It was in 2017 when medal-winning para-athlete Suvarna Raj was forced to sleep on the floor of a train. Raj was allotted an upper berth despite being wheelchair-bound. In 2016, star para-athlete Aditya Mehta was forced to take off prosthesis at Bengaluru airport during a security check, which left him bleeding. While cricket is a religion in our country and cricketers are treated like God, it is unfortunate that other sports and their stars do not get the recognition they deserve. Bureau Report, India Today.
Joining me live now, Nikhil Naz is with us from the newsroom, who's been tracking the fallout of this story. We also have Rahul Gautam, who's live with us from Saharanpur. He's our man on the ground there. He's arrived there to piece together this absolutely shocking story. Rahul, you know, some officials over there have been suspended, but I think the story that India wants answered right now is, what were the circumstances? What were the pressing circumstances that justify such a horrible decision for the food to be served to these athletes inside a toilet a few feet away from a urinal?
Well, Shiv, this shameful incident happened in Saharanpur at B.R. Ambedkar Stadium. And I'm coming live from that particular stadium. I'll ask my camera person, Mr. Mohan, to just show you around that this is the place where You can see this is an open kitchen where food was being prepared. Food was prepared for these female kabaddi players, and this is the same toilet. And you can imagine this is a men's toilet. 300 female kabaddi players were served food inside a men's toilet. You can see this is the same floor where puris were kept, and this is the place where you can see this is the floor. These are the urinals. Absolutely traumatizing for any women kabaddi player or for any women to be inside a men's toilet and to have food. This is the place, this is the changing room now. This is the second part of the same structure, and here rice were kept, and in that particular video you can see some of the female students, female players were actually complaining about these circumstances, because it was absolutely shocking for them also, because not just this compromises food hygiene but also compromises the very dignity of any woman. I have with me some of the officials here, some of the coaches here who actually train these athletes and these players here. मैम आप बताइए उस दिन हुआ क्या था, आप बताइए थोड़ा सा, अपना नाम बताइए और आप क्या सिखाती हैं, आप बताइए।
मेरा नाम जूली पुंडीर है, मैं एथलेटिक्स कोच हूँ सहारनपुर में, मैं यहीं पे सिखाती भी हूँ और मैं पिछले 16 साल से यहीं पर रहती आई हूँ, यहीं से मैं रहने वाली, यहीं से बिलोंग करती हूँ मैं। एक्चुअली ऐसा कुछ नहीं है जो यहाँ पर बताया जा रहा है ये कि यहाँ पे बना खाना ये टॉयलेट में बताया गया, सर ऐसा कुछ नहीं है।
तो ये टॉयलेट ही है मैम, मेंस टॉयलेट है।
टॉयलेट तो है ये बात आपकी सही है,
खाना यही बना है, मैं चाहूंगा आप दिखाएं। हाँ।
लेकिन पता क्या इसमें प्रॉब्लम ये थी कि जब यहाँ पे दिखाया गया है कि वहाँ पे खाना, सर वो वेस्टेज खाना था और ये यहाँ पर एक मनगढ़ंत कहानियां या जो
वीडियो में तो बच्चे ले रहे हैं वहाँ से।
हाँ दे रहे हैं, लेकिन अब एक बार बताइए, मैं आपके पास कोई जिम्मेदारी है? हमारे सर उस टाइम पे यहाँ पे पूरे स्टेडियम की जिम्मेदारी उनके ऊपर है, पूरे सहारनपुर की उनके ऊपर है। बाहर से कोई वो अपनी गाड़ी से लेके आए हैं, अपनी गाड़ी से बच्चों को छोड़ के आए हैं, बच्चों को उन्होंने खुद से देखा है। जितने भी यहाँ पे चाहे वो कोच आए हैं, चाहे खिलाड़ी आए हैं या मैनेजमेंट का कोई भी बंदा आया है, सर ने अपने आप से हैंडल किया है। क्या सर ऐसा नहीं हो सकता, क्योंकि पिछले हम भी देख रहे हैं 20 साल से यहाँ पे इतनी प्रॉब्लम चल रही है, इतना सब कुछ प्रॉब्लम हो रही है, जब से ये वाले सर आए इन्होंने बहुत कुछ सुधारने की कोशिश की है। अब ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि क्या उनकी बनगढ़ंत पीछे जो चली गई है चाले कि सर वहाँ पे गए हैं, यहाँ से उठा के बच्चों खड़ा कर दिया गया
लेकिन
है।
खाना खाने को Julie Pundir, she is the athletics coach here, and she's saying that there's a conspiracy behind this entire incident, and that's why Mr. Animesh Saxena has now been attached to Lucknow. मैम लेकिन आप ये खुद आप एक महिला हैं, ये मेंस टॉयलेट है।
जी बिल्कुल।
जब यहाँ पर खाना बन भी रहा था, चलिए मैं आप इतनी बात मान लेता हूँ, उसके बाद ये खाना अंदर जाने के बाद बच्चों को दिया किस तरीके से गया?
सर आज तक हमारे सामने तो कभी नहीं हुआ ऐसा।
अभी हुआ ना, लेकिन
नहीं हमारे सामने नहीं हुआ, क्योंकि अब आप ये मैं वही तो चीज़ कह रही हूँ, जब से ये सर यहाँ पर आए इन्होंने बहुत गलत चीज़ों के ऊपर ध्यान दिया है, बहुत सी गलत चीज़ों में सुधार लाया गया है, और जो गलत बंदा गलत चीज़ों के लिए खिलाफ खड़ा है उसके ऐसे हो रही है। तो सर मेरी समझ से बिल्कुल बाहर है कि सर के देख रेख में ऐसा हुआ होगा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। ये उनके खिलाफ मनगढ़ंत कहानियाँ हैं या चाल चली गई है, राजनीति जो भी कह लीजिए।
I'll show you some more visuals of this stadium. You can see these are the two pools of this stadium, BR Ambedkar Stadium. You can see they are also not in very good shape, and this only shows that how crores of rupees are being spent in name of sports infrastructure, and this is what we are actually giving to our upcoming athletes, to our budding players. And you know, as a nation, as a country, we always expect that our athletes, our players are going to bring laurels, going to bring medals, but at the same time, why we always falter in giving basic facilities to our sportsmen? This
and you know, I just wanted to, I want to take this also to Nikhil, who's with us, because, you know, what Julie Pundir says, you know, we accept that. You know, the people who are working with these young stars are also, you know, doing their job. They're doing their hard work. I'm sure the people involved have, you know, sorted out many other problems. There may have been some situation as a result of which such a thing happened. But the very fact that it crossed someone's mind to be, to be able to do something like this is what is really shocking. And, you know, like I said, this isn't the only story. Nikhil, there are so many examples. And, you know, I want to make it clear, here on India Today, nobody is denigrating cricketers and the amazing way in which, cricket is administered and how cricketers are treated in this country. That should be a template for all sports, hopefully, at some point of time. But, with Sunil Chhetri a few days ago, Nikhil, with this young Kabaddi team in Saharanpur, scores of other examples of para-athletes and others in just the recent past, there is a problem, Nikhil.
Well, Shiv, there is a problem. Actually, the visuals that you're showing right now, they do highlight the problem. But I think the bigger thing that really highlights the problem, and you've shown that example on air, is you hear a woman coach who's there at the venue, and what does she do? She comes out and defends the officer by saying that, you know what, this was the food that was left over, this was the additional food. The visuals are there for everyone to see. If that was leftover food, as is being said from the other side, that this was that leftover food and wasn't meant for the athletes, the visuals are clear. You could see the athletes there, the young Kabaddi players being served that food. But what does the coach do? She's a woman, she is a coach, she comes out and defends the officer. And I think that actually highlights what the problem is with the Indian sporting system, Shiv, because at the end of the day, you're at the mercy of administrators. You cannot move ahead in sport, and that's not just at this junior level. Even if you were to look at the national level, that's the problem that exists. Because there is a hierarchy that we've said, that is why you have the governor of Bengal pushing aside the captain of the Indian team. Because there's a hierarchy that we've said, whether it's at the junior level, at the senior level, where the sports person is the lowest common denominator. That's the problem with Indian sport. I often hear this argument that, you know what, we're a country of 1.3 crore people. Why can't we be the best team at the Olympic Games? We can't be, because we do not have a sporting culture. How many parents that would have seen these visuals of these young girls being served food in a male toilet would want their kids to become sports people? That is exactly the scenario in India, where you do not have parents wanting their kids to play sport. I'll tell you, Shiv, anyone who's played sport in this country at a district level, at a junior level, whatever sport that might be, I'd include even cricket at that, they've had to go through this, because they go in train compartments without reserved seats. They have to sleep next to the toilet. They go to hostels. We have about 20 people have to share one toilet. These are common stories of Indian sport at the grassroots level. Yes, we've got the Khelo India. I know that there are new centers being set up for better infrastructure. All these things are happening, but the root cause still remains. And that's probably why we'll never be a sporting nation.
It's incredible and such a sad commentary on how we treat our sports persons that this kind of thing happens. Nikhil, stay with me. Rahul, stay with me. Payal Chaudhary. Very honoured to have Payal Chaudhary, former captain of the Indian national Kabaddi team, with us, who I'm going to go to in just a moment. But before that, just to remind all of our viewers once again that what has happened in Saharanpur is not a one-off. It's not a one-off. Sunil Chhetri is not a one-off. Athletes who are not cricketers have been treated like second-class citizens repeatedly. You're seeing the Kabaddi story now. You've seen the Sunil Chhetri story pushed aside by the Bengal governor. In 2022, Sivasakti Narayanan, footballer, pushed aside also by the West Bengal sports minister. In that same event. 2021, last year, Vandana, hockey player, family was abused. 2017, Suvarna Raj, para-athlete, forced to sleep on the train floor. 2016, Aditya Mehra, para-athlete, made to remove his prosthetic leg. There is no priority. There is no sense of decency in which some of these people are actually treated. And that has made people very angry. And that's the reason why, as Nikhil said, this particular video of these young Kabaddi stars being made to eat food inside a toilet just a few feet away from a row of urinals in Saharanpur has shocked people. And I hope the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath will take strict action, not just against one or two people, but against any system that makes such a thing actually possible. Nikhil, very quickly, Anurag Thakur, the sports minister, has said action will be taken. Will something like this be followed up? Because it's a video that's viral today, will be forgotten tomorrow. Do you think something like this will actually trigger some deeper action?
The action would be taken, Shiv. I'm certain of that. Anurag Thakur being a sports person himself, I know that immediate action would be taken. But will it bring about a cultural change? I'm not too sure. Because as you mentioned, there have been previous cases, and then, a lot of those cases, yet you keep having these incidents come again and again. And that's why I go to the core point that you need to have a cultural change, a change in the mindset of everyone, because it may not be possible for the higher ups. I'm saying, let's say at the central government level, to look at every little tournament that happens. That's why why attitudes need to change. I'll give you a quick example. We keep talking about state funding. USA, one of the most successful countries in the world, the maximum funding that they get for their athletes comes from the general public. How many of us participate in organizing sporting events or contribute when it comes to monetary contribution or even voluntary contribution? It's when the general citizenship of the entire country comes together, participates in sporting activities, bring about that culture. Only then will you see certain things improve. One-off, action being taken against one-off officer will not bring about a big change.
I think that's a really important point that you make. A part of that change lies in all of us as well. Small, short-term punitive measures will, have their place. But if there's going to be a systemic change, it is something that involves us all. Nikhil, continue to stay with me because Payal Chaudhary, former Kabaddi captain of India, is also with us. Payal ji, आपने ये वायरल वीडियो जरूर देखा होगा अभी तक, ये जो पूरा इंटरनेट पे वायरल हो चुका है, जिसमें जो अंडर 17 के कबड्डी टीम, स्टेट लेवल कबड्डी टीम एक टॉयलेट में खा रहे हैं, जो खाना उनको खिलाया जा रहा है वो एक मेंस टॉयलेट में सर्व हो रहा है. आपको क्या लगा पायल?
मैं पायल चौधरी, इंटरनेशनल कबड्डी प्लेयर. जब मुझे वीडियो मिला और जब मैंने देखा, मुझे बहुत ही गंदा महसूस हुआ. इतने साल से मैं कबड्डी खेल रही हूँ, काफ़ी 15 साल से, और 7-8 मैं इंटरनेशनल कर चुकी हूँ अभी तक. तो मैंने कभी ऐसे कुछ देखा नहीं, पहली बार मैंने देखा. तो मेरे हिसाब से अभी पीएम मोदी जी सर ने इतना मोटिवेट करते हुए, मतलब कोई भी इवेंट हो, कोई भी खिलाड़ी हो, उनको इंटरनेशनल पे वापस आने के बाद उनको इतना मतलब मोटिवेशन करना, उनको मिलना, या वहाँ पे जब कोई जाते हैं इंटरनेशनल इवेंट पे उनको फ़ोन में बात करना. तो इतना कुछ होने के बाद भी ऐसे तो होना नहीं चाहिए हमारे देश में. ऊपर से मैं ये बोलना चाहूँगी कि कोई भी इवेंट हो या कोई भी टूर्नामेंट हो, छोटा मोटा, खिलाड़ी होता है. हर खिलाड़ी का एक रिस्पेक्ट होता है. तो छोटे छोटे लड़कियां, अभी ये लड़कियां आगे जाके अपना देश का, अपना स्टेट का नाम रोशन करेगी. अगर इनके साथ ही अगर ऐसे होगा तो आगे ये लोग कैसे बढ़ पाएंगे. और जहाँ पे मैंने देखा वहाँ पे बाथरूम के अंदर खाना बनाया जा रहा था, उनको खाना प्रोवाइड किया जा रहा था. तो मुझे लगता है ये बहुत ही गलत है. और वहाँ पे फूड पॉइजन भी हो सकता था बच्चियों के अंदर भी. तो अगर वो कुछ हो जाता तो कौन जिम्मेदारी लेता है ये चीज़ का. तो जो ऑर्गेनाइजर थे वहाँ पे उनको आके विजिट करना चाहिए था कि कैसे टूर्नामेंट चल रहा है, क्या कैसे नहीं चल रहा है, उनको ध्यान देना चाहिए था. इसी हिसाब से तो मैं बोलती हूँ ये गलत चीज़ है एकदम भी.
पायल जी, आप भी आप भी एक कबड्डी स्टार हैं, आप कैप्टन भी रहे हैं, आप इंटरनेशनल कबड्डी प्लेयर हैं. आपके हिसाब में ऐसे जो यंग एथलीट्स जो हैं, जो इस वीडियो में शामिल हैं, उनके मन में क्या गुजर रहा होगा जब ऐसे ट्रीटमेंट मिलता है उनको, तो क्या इफेक्ट, क्या इम्पैक्ट हो सकता है उन पर?
उनको ऐसे लगता होगा कि मतलब हमारे साथ ऐसे किया जा रहा है, या उनको मतलब पहली बार मैंने ये चीज़ देखा है, तो उनको मतलब अंदर से अजीब सा महसूस हो रहा होगा कि ये चीज़ जैसे हम लोग खा रहे हैं कि कहाँ से मतलब प्रोवाइड किया जा रहा है उनको. जैसे मान लीजिए उनको मैसेज होने के बाद भी वो बच्चे हैं, कुछ बोल नहीं सकते. तो ये चीज़ मैं मानती हूँ कि जो ऑर्गेनाइजर है उनको खास करके ध्यान देना चाहिए था इसके ऊपर. जो छोटे छोटे लड़कियाँ हैं उनको इतना नॉलेज नहीं है, और इसके बाद फूड पॉइजन भी हो सकता है, कुछ भी हो सकता है इनके अंदर.
और जो स्पोर्ट्स के स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन्स हैं, एथलीट्स हैं पायल, उनका डाइट, जो खाना होता है उनको काफ़ी रिस्ट्रिक्टेड होता है. तो ये देख के ऐसे लगता है कि कोई भी रिस्ट्रिक्शन नहीं है, कुछ भी खिला रहे हैं, कहीं भी खिला रहे हैं, कोई क्वालिटी चेक नहीं है.
सर मैं यही बोलना चाहती हूँ कि अभी जितना सारा मतलब गवर्नमेंट का जो भी रूल वगैरह रेगुलेशन जो भी है, गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से सारे खिलाड़ियों को इतना अच्छा मोटिवेशन मिल रहा है, इतना अच्छा इनकरेज मिल रहा है, होने के बाद ऐसे चीज होना नहीं चाहिए. जहाँ पे हम लोग का सर अनुराग ठाकुर मौजूद है खुद, तो इतने अच्छा सर होने के बाद यहाँ पे होना नहीं चाहिए ये चीज. तो मैं चाहती हूँ जो ऑर्गेनाइज किया गया है उनके ऊपर थोड़ा जांच किया जाए कि ऐसे चीज दोबारा ना दोहरा जाए कहीं और, कि खिलाड़ियों के ऊपर बहुत कुछ बीतती होगी इस चीज देखने के बाद.
पायल, दो आखिरी सवाल. एक परसेप्शन बन गया है इंडिया में ज़्यादातर ऐसे वीडियो देखने के बाद कि अगर आप एक एथलीट या स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन हो और अगर आप क्रिकेट नहीं खेलते हो तो आपको तैयार रहना पड़ेगा ऐसे ट्रीटमेंट के लिए। क्या ये एक्चुअली एक सच है?
सर क्रिकेट तो पहले से ही पॉपुलर रह चुके
जी।
इंडिया में, इंडिया के बाहर भी। तो सारे इवेंट के अंदर ही मतलब जो इवेंट जो खेलते हैं तो सब में कंपटीशन होता है और सब में मेहनत लगता है। जैसे कबड्डी में बोलिए, बॉडी फिटनेस जितना बॉडी कॉन्टैक्ट गेम कबड्डी है, चोट लगने का ज़्यादा चांसेस है। वैसे रेसलर भी है, वैसे हॉकी भी है। हर इवेंट अब बोला जाए तो बहुत ही टफ है। तो मैं मानती हूँ कि हर इवेंट को क्रिकेट जैसा ही दर्ज दिया जाए इंडिया में, और भी पॉपुलर हो जाएंगे क्रिकेट के साथ साथ। और भी आगे हम लोग देखें तो और सारे इवेंट को।
आखिरी सवाल पायल जी ये है कि एक जो कोच है जमीन पर इस सहारनपुर में, उनको पनिशमेंट देना वो बहुत आसान चीज है। उनको सस्पेंड करना या उनके खिलाफ कुछ एक्शन लेना वो तो बहुत आसान है और वो होगा भी। लेकिन जो बिगर पिक्चर है, क्योंकि हमको मानना पड़ेगा कि जो युद्ध है ये अगेंस्ट फॉर आवर स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन्स, ये एक बहुत बड़ा एक्शन प्लान बनना पड़ेगा। एक कल्चरल माइंडसेट भी है जब हम नॉन क्रिकेट प्लेयर्स के बारे में बात करते हैं। तो अगर आप कंट्री के लीडरशिप, अनुराग ठाकुर जी, प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी जी से बात कर सकते हैं डायरेक्टली, तो इस वीडियो के संदर्भ में आप क्या बोलना चाहेंगे?
मैं यही बोलना चाहूंगी कि सर इंडिया में हर जगह में छोटे छोटे कुछ चीज खिलाड़ियों के साथ होते रहता है। तो जो भी बीच में मीडिएटर है वहाँ पे जाके एक बार छान करना या कुछ भी दिक्कत हो उनको तुरंत सॉल्व करना, जो भी बीच में ऑर्गेनाइजर है। तो ऐसे अगर ऑर्गेनाइजर हो तो उनको दिया मत जाए कोई भी चीज़ जिम्मेदारी के लिए। तो हर स्टेट में मैं चाहती हूँ कि हर स्टेट में खिलाड़ियों को इज्जत मिले, हर स्टेट में खिलाड़ियों को एक ऊंचे दर्ज में रखा जाए, जैसे हमारा पीएम मोदी जी कर रहे हैं, अनुराग ठाकुर सर कर रहे हैं। ऐसे सबको देखा जाए।
चौधरी, हमारे साथ बात करने के लिए बहुत धन्यवाद। योर वर्ड्स विल एको, क्योंकि बिकॉज योर वर्ड इज नॉट जस्ट ऑफ अ बाईस्टैंडर, योर वर्ड्स आर एज समवन हु हैज बीन अ कबड्डी चैंपियन एंड अ कैप्टन ऑफ द नेशनल टीम। I'd like to give the final word to Rahul Gautam, who is in Saharanpur and actually tracking the fallout of a story that India Today picked up first. Rahul, given the huge viral nature of this story, do you see more action being taken, some corrective measures being taken? Like I always say, it's very easy to punish one or two people. It's more difficult to change the system so something like this is never deemed necessary in the future.
So far, only one, person has been attached. In fact, a high-level probe has already been ordered by the district administration, and we've been informed that Chief Minister Mr. Yogi Adityanath has actually, taken a very strong note of this incident, given the fact that this has brought bad repute, and a great shame to Uttar Pradesh, given the fact that, female athletes, female kabaddi players, being served lunch inside a men's toilet. Obviously, this is not how we should be treating our upcoming players. I'll just show you some very unfortunate visuals here. You can see this was the open pit where food was, prepared. And when I spoke with the officials here, they said that they've been cooking here for past 20 years. So you can imagine, how we've been treating our players. And this is the same men's toilet. You can imagine what trauma it has been for those female upcoming players to, have lunch here. And obviously this has been a great harrowing experience for those female players. And that's why I'm sure, given the fact that we've been reporting extensively on this issue, you can expect that heads are certainly going to roll and things are certainly going to improve on ground zero.
Rahul, thank you very much for getting us that ground report. The only reporter who's in that place where that food was served in that manner. Remember, here on India Today, I want to make it very, very clear here. This is not a witch hunt. We're not after one person or an individual or a coach. This is, as Nikhil said, about changing the system and a mindset. And if that doesn't happen, then viral videos of this kind that represent the rot in the system are going to be absolutely useless. They will come we will obsess about them for a day. I will lead my show about it, and then everyone's going to forget about it tomorrow. I am not sitting here, remember, and saying things like, how dare they? I am saying we should really, really introspect about why a situation has ever been necessary where a video like this was ever possible. Why is it that that person, whoever took that decision, needed to do this? A lack of resources, a lack of facilities, a lack of place, for God's sake, to serve athletes some food, as a result of which it had to be inside a toilet. Let's think about it. It's not a black and white story. There are shades of grey, and things need to be changed. We will try and affect that change and keep track of how this story unfolds. Nikhil Naz, Rahul Gautam, Payal Chaudhary, thank you very much for being with me on this very important story that my viewers wanted me to lead this show with, and that's what we have done here on 5 Live. Coming up on the other side, the Chola dynasty, one of India's ancient and arguably greatest indigenous dynasties, is all set to finally get its cinematic due, courtesy one of India's greatest filmmakers, Mani Ratnam. We tell you all about it next. Arvind Kejriwal is on the campaign trail in Gujarat, one of the big upcoming elections. He said the Congress is finished.
You look at it on a larger, on a national scale, no, the Congress is not finished, and this is coming from a party which has 0 Lok Sabha MPs right now.
Arvind Kejriwal is positioning himself as a potential challenger, if not in 2022, then in 2027.
One party who can take on the Congress at this point as the leading opposition in this country is
optics.
Kejriwal attempted something similar in Uttarakhand, didn't quite work. Small state, didn't quite work. In Goa, yes, he got 6% of the vote, but the Congress was still substantially larger.
14, if he takes 14 Vidhan Sabha seats, this election in Gujarat, the Aam Aadmi Party would have done more than what they wanted to do. 14 is their figure.
Aam Aadmi Party is certainly a natural national replacement. This is what Raghav Chadha said, and I totally agree with him, because they've mostly wiped out the Congress in Delhi.
Rahul Gandhi actually given up on Gujarat completely. The fact remains he's spending 18 days in Kerala, only 2 days in Uttar Pradesh, and practically it's a splinter yatra that's going into Gujarat.
But actually the voters resonate with the Delhi model of governance pitch that they've been making in Punjab, similarly in Gujarat as well, because honestly speaking, what is the Delhi model of governance?
I think Kejriwal sold this education health model of his, and these are 2 areas where Gujarat has traditionally been weak.
Delhi is Congress Mukt. Punjab Congress has been defeated. So Arvind Kejriwal is eating into the opposition votes or the Congress votes. Both these states he is successful. In the 3rd state, Congress is in a disarray.
I would not write off any political party which has got 35 to 40% vote like the Congress completely. The Congress has a well-entrenched vote in Gujarat. Can AAP completely take that vote over in one election? We don't know. They did it in Delhi. But as I said, Delhi is not India.
Karishma, regulation is much awaited. What are you picking up from your sources? Well, absolutely looks like the road towards legality of cryptocurrency in India is fast approaching, because sources tell us that Ministry of Finance is in fact in significant discussions when it comes to legality of cryptocurrency, and they are doing this in order to present a response to the other companies and to the other countries in order to, of course, come up with a global opinion. Now, this is all after the FSDC meeting that was held last week in Mumbai, but we are picking up that it is for the FATF, which is Financial Action Task Force on Mutual Evaluation, that government is now planning to submit a response. And one of the key questions that FATF has asked is on legality of cryptocurrency and stance of India when it comes to virtual digital assets. Now, government had pretty clearly made it obvious through last budget that they look at taxing VDAs, which is the virtual digital assets, at 30%. But what they've not yet clarified to the cryptocurrency users is the legality of cryptocurrency. And now, as per sources, Revenue Department has sent in their set of responses, and Department of Economic Affairs, which is a part of Finance Ministry, will be presenting a response that will go to FATF, and it is likely that this will happen by early next year, that is early 2023. Now, recently, Finance Minister also, in a series of meetings with IMF Managing Director, had mentioned that they are looking at the legality aspect of cryptocurrency, and it is clear that Finance Ministry, in a series of last few interactions, has been vocal that they're looking to come up with a decision that is going to align with all the other countries and is going to be aligned with the global perspective on cryptocurrency. Now, why is this going to FATF is because the FATF Mutual Evaluation Report is an assessment of countries' measures to combat money laundering and any terrorism-related activities. Now, Reserve Bank of India, the central bank, has been quite clear for a long time that they see cryptocurrency as a source of terror funding. So looks like the government will soon come up with a uniform decision and will be submitting their response on cryptocurrency soon.
Thanks for that, Karishma.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
India's greatest ancient dynasty is back. Finally, movie justice to the Cholas. Mani Ratnam's next is big brave history. Ignored for decades, the Cholas will shine now. Mughals for decades, finally Cholas get their due. The dawn of Ponniyin Selvan.
Mughal rulers and their legacies and history have long dominated the world of cinema in India. But with Mani Ratnam's upcoming magnum opus Ponniyin Selvan 1 hitting the screens at the end of this month, arguably India's greatest ancient dynasty, the Cholas, will finally get their long due recognition. in an atmosphere where many believe that the Mughals have dominated Indian filmdom, and people and filmmakers have constantly chosen to tell the Mughal stories, largely at the expense of dynasties like the Marathas or the Pandyas or the Cholas. This is a first big budget film, one of only a handful of films on the great Cholas that's coming out at the end of this month, and it is none other than Mani Ratnam that's giving this ancient Indian civilization a largely overlooked due. Take a look.
வானில் ஒரு பெரும்பால் விண்மீன் தோன்றியது. சோழ அரச குலத்தில் ஒருவரை அந்த விண்மீன் பலி கொள்ளும்.
In an industry that has largely ignored it, India's greatest ancient dynasty, the Cholas, are all set for an epic correction. Amidst a wave of sentiment over the ancient southern dynasty being sidestepped by historians and filmmakers, one of India's greatest movie makers, Mani Ratnam, is all set to bring the Cholas back. While the Mughal Empire has justifiably seen grand productions in Bollywood and beyond, a stubborn sticking point has remained: that the older and grander Chola dynasty hasn't received its rightful due.
The Cholas were so far ahead. They had achieved so much. They had, created so much that it still stands today. There's been a lot of predecessors who have done so much, who have achieved so much, who have conquered so much, who had an amazing naval force and things like that. So it's something that we can put out.
The issue continues to be a divisive one, with historians either welcoming renewed interest in the largely ignored Cholas or wondering whether the new fascination is manufactured and contrived. Either way, thousands of years later, the all-star cast of Mani Ratnam's next film know that an enormous legacy sits on their shoulders. The film comes at a time when the public and political discourse has become increasingly disenchanted over ancient indigenous dynasties like the Cholas and Mauryas, failing to attract filmmakers who have preferred to flock to subject matter over Mughals perceived in this face-off as invaders. Obviously, the divide has been a point of politics too. India's Home Minister had this to say earlier this year.
इतिहास लिखने वालों ने साम्राज्यों का जग भी जिक्र आया तो मुगल साम्राज्य की ही चर्चा करी। चालुक्य साम्राज्य 600 साल चला, मौर्यों ने 550 साल तक समग्र राष्ट्र पर अफगानिस्तान से लेकर लंका तक राज्य किया, मगर इस सब पर संदर्भ ग्रंथ नहीं लिखे।
According to one estimate, Mani Ratnam's new magnum opus will be only the 6th Indian film ever made that's set in the Chola Empire. The number of films set in the Mughal Empire, including the blockbuster Jodha Akbar, is at least 5 times that number at over 30 films, many of them with their own enduring legacies. As a vibrant and sometimes vicious debate intensifies over India's ignored dynasties, will Mani Ratnam's upcoming film correct what is deemed by millions to be an injustice in our lifetimes? The countdown to Ponniyin Selvan 1 has begun. Bureau Report, India Today.
And my colleague Gaurav Sawant, who doesn't speak Tamil but is very, very excited about Ponniyin Selvan, joins me live because he believes, Gaurav, you believe, and I think we both agree, that the Cholas have been largely overlooked despite having an absolute wealth of, potential content, amazing stories to be told about an indigenous, dynasty that flourished in India all those years ago. This is in many ways being seen as a historical wrong being corrected, Gaurav. Courtesy Mani Ratnam, no less.
Shiv, truly, this is something to look forward to, because when you look at
history and when you look at popular culture. So we've heard a lot about Jodha Akbar and Akbar Mahan, and some historians even say Aurangzeb was great. Be that as it may, our country is much bigger. Our country has a much richer history. Our country has a bigger legacy, and perhaps it's only now that some of it is being recognized. The Cholas, for example, when you read about them in history books, perhaps it's only now that many of us would be reading about the vast expanse of the empire, not just within the country, but far beyond India's shores and far longer, than any one particular dynasty that our country may have read about, courtesy a select set of historians. So it's this movie is clearly not about the Mughals versus the Cholas, but it's for a country to know that there were so many more in our country. For example, how many of us know about King Lalitaditya in Kashmir, or the Cholas, or Lachit Borphukan in Assam, and how many of our Bollywood stars have made movies about Lachit Borphukan who didn't let the Mughals advance, or Maharana Pratap. How many movies have we seen on Maharana Pratap? Thankfully, some on Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and now so much more on Cholas, Rajaraja Chola, Rajendra Chola, the vast expanse, the conquering of territory, the trade that went all the way up to South China. So all of this is something that we are really looking forward to know so much more about our history through popular culture.
And you're absolutely right, Gaurav. This is not about not doing Mughal films, because the Mughal Empire also, had a wealth of stories to be told, and a lot of justice has been done to the, through films that are set during the Mughal Empire. I don't think anyone is faulting that, but the point you make is an important one. The Cholas have been largely overlooked. For a dynasty that was of older vintage, that was from here in India, that in many ways was greater in certain aspects. It's a little odd in our modern times that so many people wonder why were we not taught as much about the Cholas? Why don't we have more movies about the Cholas? When I teased this show earlier right now, Gaurav, someone was telling me the Ponniyin Vijayan story would make a fabulous Game of Thrones style web series as well. So it's not about one versus the other, but why not the Cholas? There's no good reason for it, Gaurav.
You're absolutely right. Why not the Cholas? Why not learn about how our culture, our religion, that was spread far beyond our shores to Sri Lanka, to Maldives, to Malay Peninsula, to Sumatra, how trade was carried out all the way to South China, how we were a very strong seafaring nation. And Shiv, you and I, since we spend so much time, looking at the importance of command over sea for power and power projection. It's as true today as it was from the times of the early Cholas, the middle Cholas, and it's so important for all of this to come out in popular culture. Yes, some historians may know about it, history students like you and I may know about it, but it is for popular culture, for the nation to know about this. The Cholas, for example, Lachit Borphukan, for example, in Assam, or Maharana Pratap, for someone who never accepted invaders in our country. So, and the self-respect, that's as true and as important as it was then as it is now. So it's something that needs to be spread through popular culture, Shiv.
Absolutely, and it's not even like a crusade or a campaign. There is a sense of befuddlement or curiosity about why something that offers so many exciting avenues for storytelling has, been left fallow for so many years. Only 6 films, imagine, at last count, have been made on the Cholas. In fact, Mani Ratnam's upcoming Ponniyin Vijayan is only the 6th film that's set in the Chola Empire, at least as far as the big known films are concerned, which is very, very odd when you actually think about it. Gaurav, thanks very much for that. Hopefully it's going to be a a film that will tell us more about the Cholas, Rajaraja Chola, Rajendra Chola, and all of the amazing characters of that time. But leave it to political parties in Tamil Nadu who've also sort of waded into the discussion. And remember, it's a very divided kind of discussion. Many people believe that the Chola period was not exactly a golden age for Tamils. Many others say that this is the propaganda of certain historians. It's a nice, vibrant debate that it's nice to have in a country like ours. And political parties have welcomed the film for what they say is going to be the first detailing of history of the Cholas in Tamil Nadu. Listen in to, for example, BJP state chief in Tamil Nadu, Annamalai. Here's what he told us.
I am not privy to the way the movie is made, but looking at the cast of characters, great stars are there. There's a great filmmaker, amazing actors. So this period movie is supposed to be made for a long time. Almost for the last 40 years, a lot of people tried making Ponniyin Selvan because it is from a classic written by Kalki. And finally, Mani Ratnam ji has decided to take this on and make it into a huge epic movie. The important part of the movie is the glorious part of Tamil Nadu, 1000 years before, our great Chola Empire from our Tamil soil. Not only it brought laurels to our soil, but across India, it crossed seas right up to Java, Sumatra. They're great seafarers, they're fantastic administrators, and more importantly, they are rulers of absolute justice. So that period is being showcased as a movie. So though it was a novel, but 80% of the novel was a period novel. It was set in a Chola dynasty, that to the great guy Rajendra Cholan and his army and the intricacies and what happens inside and everything. So I think finally the great land of Tamil, which has given Cholas, across the world people will be seeing.
And you'll be seeing a lot about the buzz around the Cholas of Ponniyin Selvan, Mani Ratnam, his crew, all of the actors, they're going to be speaking to India today. They've already spoken to us. All the buzz, all the history, all that amazing Game of Thrones style detail of one of India's greatest dynasties. All of this week in the run-up to that movie right here on India Today. We're loving it. And we're loving the act of storytelling in bringing this story to all of our viewers. And we commit to telling you much more about the Cholas. So by the end of the next 10 days, you and I are going to know much more about one of India's oldest dynasties. That's a promise. Well, that's a wrap on 5 Live, but the news doesn't stop here on India Today. Akshita is up next on 6 p.m. Prime. The big hijab showdown has escalated in Supreme Court. You're not going to believe some of the things that have been said in this unfolding case. Akshita is going to round that up for you next.